From Baxter's 942 in the Highlands of Louisville, Kentucky, and worldwide on Apple and Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, and YouTube. This is Shooting from the Lip. I'm Erik McEwen. Right across from me, Mr. Kevin Hale. And Kevin, we have a very special guest.
Very special.
One of my nearest and dearest.
I was going to say, you two have some history. Give us the 411 with your history with her first before we get her talking, because I think once she starts, we might be phased out of this segment.
Right. Well, I mean, just an old friend. From mutual friends growing up. And we were actually able to connect a few years ago with more mutual friends, and she's just one of my favorite people. Mm-hmm. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Miss Jen Bramer. How are you, Jen?
Hello.
Jen, welcome to the show, Jen.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Erik, how Jen and I, Jen's fine. We connected is, we've had in the last, few shows. We had one segment where we did a guy that came in and promoted his benefit for his son. His son had
opiate.
Yeah. And that whole that topic, that scenario is crazy. I mean,
it affects a lot of people.
Epidemic.
And so I wanted to keep talking about that, because I think if anything, we're doing our part to keep spreading the information on what people should do, contact, how that they can go about getting help, and people who know of people should be able to gather this information and help the cause.
We're talking to the right person,
yeah.
Jen. So tell me a little bit about what you have going on now. Where you're working, what you're doing, who you're helping.
Well, currently I'm not full-time doing this. This is just a project that I have. Right. I have a lot of people near and dear to me, family that have struggled with addiction, and I kind of just saw this gap in treatment, really more of a gap in connectivity between the different places that are doing things, the different programs and things that they have around the problem. So one of the things that I wanted to do is just kind of help people. I went to this, the Courier Journal put on something that's been a couple of years ago, but they wanted to, ask some questions about this situation with the opiates and addiction and what should we be doing. And everybody had questions, but nobody had any answers. Right. And that really stressed me out. So
now you have a background in working with addiction. And
yes, I was an alcohol and drug counselor. I taught a 20-hour education course that you take when you get a DUI, but I also got to do a lot of group facilitation for narcotics and things like that. And then I was a counselor at a halfway house, and I created some relapse prevention programs there. And
nice. Well, we really appreciate what you're doing for the community, and like you said, this is an epidemic, and it's kind of hard. Are you from the school that addiction actually is a disease?
Yes. Yeah. Like the whole it's a choice.
No.
I don't think anybody wakes up and says, you know what, today I'm going to do that. That's what I want to do with my life today. And right. I've never met an addict that doesn't want to quit. Well, I mean, I have. I've met a few. You've got, there's one in every crowd. But you don't see very many of them that are happy.
So this organization, Advocates for Addicts, was established
2015?
16. A non-profit organization that you head.
Yes.
You run.
President, CEO, all that.
Give us what's the 411 with that?
Well, I was doing some case management, basically just, helping people connect to the services that are there. I mean, what we ended up happening was people would go to jail. And when they're in jail, the family's like, oh, let's help them now. We have things in place like Casey's Law and things like that are trying to help them, but if it's getting them there, and even Casey's Law won't get them there, and when they're in jail, there's too much red tape around the law for the jail to be able to get them free flowing into that program, which I don't know if you're familiar with the Casey's Law, but it's a basically involuntary treatment.
Right.
The problem is, they only get 7 days of rehab or maybe 30 days, and then they send them back out there. But it takes a minimum 6 to 8 months for the brain to even begin to change and go back to being unaddicted. You don't become addicted overnight, and you don't become unaddicted overnight. It's a process, and you need time for that. And the problem is that there's no clarity of mind there for the addict to figure that out.
And the reason why it's only 7 days is cost, right?
Insurance,
it's
absolutely.
It's strictly insurance.
But that being said, we've got some great programs around town here in Louisville. I mean, they're getting ready to do this $25 million renovation to the men's healing place.
Right.
The women's healing place was absolutely amazing for my little sister. She's coming up on 2 years in September, so kudos for that. Yeah,
absolutely.
But it was that program at the women's, healing place that saved her. And.
With your advocates for addicts, I'm looking at the website, Road to Recovery. I'm going to give you, there's 5 topics here: advocacy, treatment, recovery, mentorship, education, and support. Give us a little bit with each one. Advocacy.
Well, advocacy is just about, say your addict is in jail, and you don't want them to go to jail for all this because it's because of drugs. So there's things that you can do to make sure that to communicate with these programs and these agencies to make that more of an option. With my little sister, I called them. I think I drove them crazy, but she was on house arrest, and they wouldn't let her go from house arrest straight to rehab. So I had to make phone calls. I had to go out there and do some grunt work to get it done. And so I had a bed promised to her, and then it took me another 2 weeks to get her in that bed. She overdosed in that 2-week period and could have died, Wow. So it's a failure of the agencies. There's not a collectiveness where they're not, seamless. They're getting better at it, though, like Centerstone and the Kentucky one that used to be Our Lady of Peace. They'll go and pick you up in a van and take you to IOP. There's some programs out there that are doing some really great things, but
treatment.
So again, detox is not treatment. There's 30-day programs. There are long-term programs, definitely.
That is important, because there is that misnomer that, Eric, that people do think for some reason that someone just going into detox cold turkey is their way of being treated.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's what we're talking about, that it is a disease. There is something going on in the brain that affects people to the point where they are addicted. And treatment, if they detox, they still have their brain a certain way.
Well, biologically, chemically, a trigger like a tapping of a credit card on a table, is a trigger for someone who uses that. Yeah. Right, absolutely. And they've done studies that say just hearing that noise, the dopamine is given out in a very small amount to the brain. So even though you've not touched anything, your brain has been told that you've tasted it. And we all know where that goes, right? Yeah. So
yeah, as life, you get a taste of something and you kind of want more. Recovery, mentorship.
Well, recovery and mentorship is because recovery doesn't stop at treatment. Even if you are in a 6-month program, you still are going to have to, it's a lifestyle change. It's just like, with dietary things, it's a complete lifestyle change. You can't just get treatment and go back to the sick housing and sick, things that you were doing before. So with ongoing treatment, then you also get plugged into like meetings, and you need that culture. And right now here in Louisville, Kentucky, I just want to give it up because I just love all my sober people. Like the sobriety community in here in Louisville it's fun. They have a lot of fun. They do a lot of things, and they do it sober. And there's a lot of people, young people that I've met that I'm just like super proud of. So there is hope. Treatment works, but you have to have treatment.
Well, a good segue then, the education part.
Oh, education is educating the people around you so that they know this isn't just a choice. This is a disease. They have to know how not to enable you. Don't ever give your addict cash, ever, for anything. I don't care what the excuse is. If they need things, get those things for them. If they need gas in their car, don't give them money. Take them to their gas station and put it in their car. Like, enabling is so hard, and I went through it for years with my own stepsons. We're both addicts, and it's a process for parents. So it's just best to educate yourself, get around other people that have been through it, because they can, take you for a lot, and then, you know, you have all this resentment, or you can know ahead of time and properly address things so that you don't end up resenting them because you gave in, you know.
And this just isn't education for the addict or the recovering addict. This is education for the people involved.
Absolutely.
For the
And that's what Advocates and Addicts is about, is helping family and loved ones of addicts get what they need to fight the good fight.
And so we talked that, you know, this has been around since 2015.
Yeah.
What the mission of it seems pretty clear, but as far as practicality, what day to day, what are we doing here
Right now? To be perfectly honest, and I'm not proud of it, but it's hard to do it all by yourself.
Can't.
No, I can't. I absolutely cannot. I tried, and I left my job at Dismiss Charities, a very cozy corporate, job, to go and do this, and I took the risk. I had a friend who was investing and helped pay some salary and everything. So it didn't, it's a lot, and I couldn't do it by myself, and getting people to help was really hard. But I've kept the website open, and I still do the active Facebook page, so that at least maybe I'm still putting information out there. Anyone's welcome to contact that website, that Facebook page or the website through email, and I will definitely put them in touch with whoever they need, and even case management. I know people that do case management on voluntary basis.
So you are an advocate.
Yes.
And I think that's what a lot of people don't get. And a lot of people that struggle right now, they feel like they're doing this alone. And the biggest thing is to have somebody in your corner is huge.
Right. And
you're not alone, and people understand, and they want to help, and you provide that for them.
Yes. Pathway.
That is incredible.
Thanks.
The website is advocatesforaddicts.com. Her Facebook page is advocates4, as in the number 4 addicts. Staying with Jen and some other conversation, I got to get this out here, because once I was vetting her for the show, Eric, she enlightened me that she's an empath. Whether you buy into the empath thing as science fiction,
why don't we define what
it is? A person, by definition, a person with the paranormal ability to apprehend the mental or emotional state of another individual.
Wow, that's an interesting definition. I've never heard that one before.
That's Webster's, so
I'll claim it.
jump in.
Yeah, I'll claim that.
You own it.
Wow, okay. That's not really the way I've heard it. It basically, with an empath, some people can understand how you feel about things, and they can relate, but an empath can feel it. Physically feel it. If you're sad or if you're angry, if I'm in the room with someone and I don't, a crowded room, and I can tell if there's someone in the room that's super anxious, whether I can lay my eyes on them or not. It's all about the energy, and so apparently empaths can.
Positive or negative. Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
Do you think this is a talent or a skill that or a skill that you learned over time, or you think this is a God-given talent?
Oh yeah, this is definitely, a gift and a curse, but mostly a gift, absolutely. But
is it like a sixth sense kind of thing?
Yeah. So empath is, you can be an empath and not be a clairvoyant or a medium, and I happen to be all three. But you don't have to be one to be the other, if that makes sense. So empaths, it's all about feelings. It's the kind of person that you just want to tell everything to, and you just spill your whole business to them, and you're like, wow, I've never told anybody that. Why did I just tell you all that? And then they say, oh, it's okay, people do it all the time. And they do, And
then they go, she's a witch. She's a witch.
Yes, that's one of my least favorite words. I like practitioner. I like seer is my favorite. I resonate best with that.
A few hundred years ago, they would have burned you at the stake.
Yeah, I think in a past life they might have hung me. I'm not 100% on that, but it's the vibe I get.
What is the energy that you seem to gravitate to? It's the positive, more negative?
I'm a truth bringer, I guess. I'm put in the path of people who need to hear a truth, and
truth trumps everything,
doesn't it? Yeah. Right. So I meet people all the time that I otherwise wouldn't have met, except for this extreme, strange circumstance, which is like a flag for me that this is like, I call it universe work, soul work. But I bring, I meet people all the time, and I have conversations with them, and I tell them things, and I change their perspective. It's one of my favorite TED Talks on perspective, 4 thirds. I don't know if you've seen that one, but if not, look it up. 4 thirds, like a fraction.
Gives us a whole new definition of pillow talk there, Eric.
Yeah. It's fun.
Nice.
It's interesting.
Well, I've learned something.
Yeah.
And that's why we love the show, because we're always learning.
Yeah, reaching out, yeah. So.
Well, Jen, thank you so much for stopping by, and thank you for all you're doing for all the people that need somebody to help them out and be there. I'm sure more than anything, just having somebody they can talk to is amazing. But being a pathway to recovery is God to let you sleep at night very well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Again, shout out your social media, and then
Mine?
yeah.
For clairvoyant readings and things like that, you can find me at Meda Yanaba, MEDAYANABA. I know, it's crazy. On Facebook.
I'll ask you the definition of that later. But
It's a prophet who meets her enemies and comes back. Yeah.
okay, wow.
So the truth bringer, right?
Yeah.
So, and then the Advocates for Addicts, you've already plugged that, but it's really, I have an email,
Well, check out on Facebook, Advocates, 4 Addicts. Anybody out there that's struggling, or if you know anybody that's struggling, let's see if we can help them themselves. And Jen's definitely going to be the
Educate
person
yourself too. Yeah.
that can advocate for these people and get them where they need. Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thanks for having
So
me. This has
good.
been great.
It's
Good
good to
stuff.
see you
Yeah.
again.